How's it going? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be working on the brick nose. I got some materials to build a rear bumper, and then we're going to build some protectors for the side of the bed, throw a hitch in that. I ordered some reverse lights because of that recovery video. I couldn't see anything behind me. Those reverse lights, the factory ones, are terrible. So I ordered some aux beam embedded light pods that are going to go on the bumper. They haven't came yet, so we're going to go ahead. If they come tomorrow, we'll throw them in, but for the time being, we're just going to build the bumper. I can always add them later. I also went and ordered some new front coil springs from Jeff's Bronco Graveyard. They are Deaver coil springs. The Pro Comp ones I have in there, they are way too stiff. I'll put a picture up right now of what it looks like. As you can tell, there's like no flex at all in the front. So I'm hoping that these Deaver ones, they're the super flex front coils. I'm hoping that'll help me flex a little more on the front end, because right now everything's coming from the back. So we're gonna start off with getting those installed. These are a 5-inch coil spring for a 70, I guess 66 to 79 F150, whereas what I have in there is a 6-inch lift coil for a brick nose and bull nose. They're the same. So I've heard that these are a little stiffer, the brick nose ones, because of the twin traction beam design. So hopefully these help us out and we aren't squatted like we are now. We're barely squatted. So hopefully it brings the front end down a little bit and helps us with our flex. So I'll go set a camera up and we'll get started. So I got the new Deavers put in. I ended up switching the lower coil mounts to sit farther out on the axle. It looks like it's giving me a better spring angle, and then it's also allowing my spring on this side to miss the frame before it was hitting the frame and hitting that bump stop when it was flexing. Because the axle is going to move to the driver's side because of the panhard bar, which was forcing that coil into the frame. But now that I moved it outward, it looks like it has a little bit better angle on the coil, and it seems to be flexing quite a bit better. These Deaver springs are actually way better than those BDS ones I had in there. This spring, I have some pictures from last night, but this spring actually compressed all the way, and the other spring over here was flexed out all the way. So I'm going to lift it up from this back tire now to the opposite, because I have to get measurements for new shocks. So I'm going to go ahead and flex it out so I can get those measurements, and I'll take some videos once it's flexed out. Alright, we're going to get started on building the bumper now. I gotta go ahead, wash the sides off so I can mask a line for where I'm going to be cutting. And then I have all the materials here for the bumper, so we'll go ahead, wash it, cut it, measure it, start building it. All right, so basically I followed the line of my tailgate and I cut it flush there. Or I didn't cut it, I marked it there. I marked out. It's hard to get a straight line with the body lines curving, so I kind of marked it lower than I think. And once I get the bumper built, I can cut more if I need to, or if it ends up being good, then we'll be good to go. Alright, so I got the bumper about where I want it. Obviously I cut it a little bit wide, but it's going to go up, not completely flush against the tailgate because I need a little bit of a gap there so I can open the tailgate. But, so you can see, it's pretty tight to the back. It's sticking out about an inch from the tailgate. So I still got some protection there, but I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. So now what I'm going to do is measure from my spring hanger back there to the face of this 3x5, so I can get lengths for my 3/8 flat. Once I have those lengths, I can go ahead and measure the widths of my frame rails and I can weld those onto this bumper. I guess before I do that, I'm going to mark the holes for them to mount into the frame there, and I'm going to drill them out so I don't have to do that when it's attached to the bumper. So I got these plates put on, cut down, and they're level across. I got my holes marked out on the back side, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut those holes out, and then I'm gonna center it up on that plate, weld it in, slap it all back on the truck. bumper mocked up right now. Bolts are not tight by any means, so that's why this gap is pretty big, but just looking how I can figure out my line to cut my bed at, because we're going to get some of that 1.5 inch and run it down the sides to protect the sides. But it's definitely wide enough. Once the 1.5 inch is on, I'm going to measure down 1.5 inch, and then I'm going to cut it at an angle. And then I have a hitch receiver to go in the middle and some more of those D-rings from up front that we're going to be putting on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and get it lined up, and then I'm going to measure for my bed. So I got the bumper up to where about I want it with the jack, and then I ran new tape lines that are more level. It has a brace here so the bed doesn't flop. So I'm going to cut a tab here so I can bend it over and try to reuse this brace. Probably have to shorten it. Put it on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead, cut along the top, and then I come down, cut that out all the way through, and then I'll get measurements for how wide I need that bumper to be. Alright, so here is where we are at. This should be covered by my 1.5 inch ideally. I got that tab bent up there, so I just need to shorten this and then I can tie it on. And I gotta cut this still. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up with the angle grinder with a flapper disc and just make this a little bit nicer and smoother. This side's also cut. Looks pretty good. Same thing with those two. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up with the flap disc, and then I will continue. I decided I think this is the right length, so I'm just gonna go lay it up how it would be on the car, and then I'm gonna notch it and get all my tubes laid out on the table, just make it a little easier. Alright, so here's where we are. That is 1.5 inch tall, so my 1.5 inch sits there, and it's cut at a 45. This side is the same. So I'm gonna go ahead, clean all the stuff out of it, because I'm OCD about not having a bunch of stuff rattling in my bumper. So I'm gonna clean all that out, and then I'm gonna weld some plates over that to plate it all off, and then I'll get my 1.5 inch welded on. Just got this side capped, grinded, blended. I'm gonna go ahead and get the other side done, and then we'll slap it up on the truck and start laying out the other bars. Alright, here's where we're at. Looks pretty good. Everything is cut, plated, welded. Measured 24 inches over. That'll get us like about here. I'm gonna cut those, angle them. I'm going to tack them on the truck to make sure I get the right angle against the body and whatnot, because I'm sure it's slightly different from the other side. And if I do it on the table and make it perfectly square, it might go into my body or do some weird things, because I doubt my cuts are square. So I'm just going to weld it on the truck depending on how they are on each side, and then I can trim this flap, get my brace put in, kind of just start finishing stuff up. Alright, so this is what we've got going on so far. Sidebar is in. This side tacked in as well. I'm going to go ahead and pull the bumper off, and then I'm going to do some cross bracing. So from that back corner, I'm going to run a bar into here just to make this a little stiffer so it can't bend in. I'll do it on both sides, and then I still gotta cap the ends of those. So, all right, so I got 45 inches left of that 1.5 inch quarter. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut 2 braces, one for each side. I'm gonna make them probably 21 inches, just because there is a little variance that's not exactly 45, and when you cut, it removes some material. So we're gonna go ahead, put 45s on each end, because we're assuming this is 90, and then that should fit in there, weld in there pretty good. And then we'll also make a gusset for these plates just to reinforce them a bit. All right, so I got my braces welded in. Now I got marked for my hitch receiver right here. So we go ahead, cut that out, down the bottom, front side, everything, so I can get that welded in. All right, there it is. Sidebars on. Everything is braced. We got the toe points on the back. Hitch receiver's welded in. License plate is mounted. Probably gonna have to move that over here later down the road, because I have some light pods ordered that are like the flush mount ones, and I kind of want to put them on the outside of each side, but who knows, maybe I'll put them in the middle. But that's a project for down the road. It all looks good. This side warped a little bit with the heat, so it pulled up into the bed, so I'm just going to trim that so it looks the same as the other side. But yeah, turned out good. It's pretty tight to the truck. Tailgate still opens, so no issues there. Yeah, pretty happy with how it turned out. Looks good. So yeah, so thank you guys for watching this video. We got some big plans coming for the 67 Ford, so make sure you stay tuned to see what that's about. But yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.